Hey, it's me, AP, aka Mr. Movie Cheer, and welcome back to another episode. And on this episode, I will be looking at 10 movies based on books that are great to watch on physical media, DVDs, Blu-rays, and 4Ks I'll be discussing in this video. So let's get to it. Let's get to those 10 movies. So the first movie I want to get to is this one here, Starship Troopers. 1997 movie, and it's based on a 1959 book. The only reason I realised this is a book is because apparently they're doing a reboot of this, like a new movie, but they're going to do it not with like the sort of like comedy aspects to it that this movie had, the comedy elements. But yeah, that's where I found out just more recently that obviously that there's been talks of doing a new version of it, new adaptation, and I had no idea that this was a book, to be honest with you. But Starship Troopers, one of my favourite films from the 90s. I've got this on Blu-ray here, and this is a cracking movie. Such a great movie. You know, it's action, sci-fi. Like I said, it's got them comedy elements in. Paul Verhoeven directed this, obviously, who directed RoboCop, another one of my favourite movies. But this is a great release, really fun movie. It's never had a 4K. I don't believe it's had a 4K anyway. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it hasn't. But the Blu-ray looks great, really enjoyable. And even the effects for the time, the computer-generated effects, really hold up. And I think because you look at like stuff like Star Wars, what were released around the same time, 99, the effects on that movie don't hold up as well. In this, the digital effects really do hold up really well, and I think it is a solid movie if you're into your sci-fi movie, Starship Troopers. Next up, we have Planet of the Apes, the original Planet of the Apes movie. This was released in 1968, and it was based on a book released in 1963 by, I believe it was like a French author. And I was reading online, I think it had like, the original title, Planet of the Apes, had this like French title, and then it was translated to English, and it was translated, I think, as Planet of the Apes, or I think it was Monkey Island or something ridiculous like that. So I think they went with the better option of Planet of the Apes, a much better title, a bit more. It feels a bit more like sinister. Planet of the Apes. I love that. Or it was like Planet of the Monkeys. Something ridiculous like that. Anyway, but this is a great film. One of my favourite movies, Planet of the Apes, the original one especially. Definitely my favourite out of the original movies that came out. But yeah, great movie. Charlton Heston, Roddy McDowall. If you've never watched this film, it's an absolute classic. I've got this on DVD here, a part of like the big collection you get on DVD of all the original movies. Solid film. I know it's had a Blu-ray release, but it's never had a 4K. And I really would like to see, as someone who's just getting into 4K and Blu-rays recently, certainly an upgrade would be nice to Blu-ray for myself, which I could make. But I feel like this is such a masterpiece, classic movie, that surely a 4K is on its way at some point soon. This deserves the limited edition special treatment of this movie. I hope we get it anyway. I hope we get some sort of special release for Planet of the Apes. It is such a solid movie, and it definitely deserves a special release for sure. Next up, we have Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, starring Gene Wilder. This was released in 1971, and it's based on the Roald Dahl book Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, that was released in 1964. I've got this on Blu-ray. Watched this recently, picked it up in the Zavvi sale, 3 for $30. Great movie. I always enjoyed this growing up. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Gene Wilder, his performance as Willy Wonka is just super special to me. He's just like, because there's this character who's very much like, it feels like his character, he's like this crazy guy. You don't know what he's going to do. He's just, I want to go into the mind of Willy Wonka in this movie to see what's going on. And just the character, just like from the opening scene when he walks out with the limp and then he does the rollover, he's just putting it all on. And even to the end scene when he's he's in that office, it's just such a, you kind of don't really know this character fully until the end, and then you feel like it's at the end he's just like, he becomes happy, and like throughout the whole movie he's kind of like, he's got stuff going on in his head. He's trying to work out whether these kids are worthy enough to, for the prize of the factory. And it's such a special movie. I love the music in it. It looks great on 4K. Really special. The sound quality is amazing as well. Superb film, and I love this artwork. I absolutely love the purples. It's just such a nice cover, this. I love the text. it's a special movie, special release. I'm glad it's had this special treatment for this movie. Next up, we've got another, and well, they're all books. They're all movies based on books. We have Jurassic Park DVD here. I've got the DVD set. The first Jurassic Park movie. So the Jurassic Park was released in 1993. It's based on a book that was released in 1990, a novel. And I'm sure I've read somewhere that someone said that the book is very different from the movie. Some of the characters are very different. I've never read it, so I will say with all these so far, I've not read any of these. I do like reading. I do enjoy listening to audiobooks. But I've not read any of these yet, so I can't really say how much they are. Are they comparable to the movies, the books to the movies? I can't really comment, but what I will say, they're all great movies. But Jurassic Park is definitely the first one. Is the one that stands out for me. The effects in that movie, the animatronics were amazing. Visually, they've done many sequels since then. They've done the Jurassic World movies. None of them are close to what the first movie delivered. Every one of them is just kind of like, okay, it's dinosaurs again on an island. Okay, we've seen it. I feel like once you've seen it once, it's hard to replicate that to something new and to deliver something new. The first movie was special, especially for the time period, the effects at the time, 1983. Superb. I love this film. I think it's a great film. It used to terrify me, the T-Rex scenes in this as a kid. For years I couldn't watch it, and then as an adult I watched it more, and I really do appreciate it. One, I will definitely be looking for an upgrade eventually. Probably not the second or the third movie, but the first one for sure. I would love to see an upgraded version of this instead of the DVD. But yeah, great to have still on DVD, on physical media, in the collection to watch in the movie room. Next up, we've got one that I didn't realise was based on a book. And this is a bit of a different movie from the other ones, but about a boy, Hugh Grant, and what is the Nicholas Hoult, isn't it, the young lad in it? Obviously, he's went on to do tons of great things now. He's playing Lex Luthor in the new Superman movie, this little guy here. But yeah, this is based on... So this movie was released in 2002, and the book was released in 1998. This is based on the book. Very much like a comedy drama. Prime Hugh Grant, I would say, this period. Really funny movie. I think it's a very easy watching movie. One, it's got Christmas elements, so you can watch it around Christmas, but I feel like it's not a Christmas movie per se. I think you can watch it any time of the year. Decent movie. I like About a Boy. I've not watched it in a while, if I'm being honest with one, but it's one I used to always enjoy watching when I was younger, and one I still think is a good movie, and I'm glad I've got it in the collection. Yeah, I like the cover as well, just very simple. I like this movie. Nice movie. It's a nice movie to watch. It's like, to talk about nice movie watches, About a Boy is definitely that type of movie. A very nice movie to watch. Next up, we have this one here, Ready Player One. This is a book I have read. So this is the movie. The movie came out in 2018, and the book was released in 2011. It's the Ernest Cline book of the same name. Steven Spielberg directed the movie. Ty Sheridan is in this movie. You've got, who else we've got on here? We've got Ty Sheridan, Olivia Cook, Ben Mendelsohn, TJ Miller, Simon Pegg's in here as well, Mark Rylance. This is great. First of all, I will say the book is spectacular. If you've never read the book and you like books, do you know when you hear people say the book's better than the movie? I would say the book is better than the movie. For me personally, just there's a bit more in the book that I really enjoyed. Just they felt like there was more. Again, it's people get this with like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. They prefer the books. I really got that with this movie. I really did enjoy the book, the experience of the book. I felt like I really got into that world. And there were certain bits that I felt like I watched it and I was like, oh man, I would have loved to have seen certain parts, more elements. But I get it, there's only so much you can put into a movie. So I kind of appreciate them both for their own, like it's an adaptation. And that's why I appreciate movies, book adaptations, movie adaptations of books. I appreciate it for what it is. It's never going to be an exact carbon copy of the book. It's going to take its own elements, and obviously there's copyright details where they can't feature certain things like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. They didn't feature in that. But this is a solid movie, and what I will say as well, it's one of the I've not watched many 4Ks, admittedly, but this is one of the best ones I've watched so far. It looks superb in 4K with the, it's got the Dolby Vision on it. Fantastic. I love the cover. The artwork is great. If you like 80s vibes, nostalgia to pop culture, it's got every type of, loads of Warner Brothers movies in there, Easter eggs, like, it's basically a virtual reality world. So you're getting all like Back to the Future cars. You've got every different type of Warner Brothers characters that are in this movie. It's a great movie as well. Like I said, I can appreciate the movie for what it is, and I didn't really enjoy it as much on the initial watch of this movie. I was kind of like comparing it to the book a bit more too much, but a few watches in and now watching it again recently, picking up on physical media for the first time, really loved it, and I'm so happy I've got it in the collection. It's well worth checking out, folks. If you like science fiction, this is one for you, definitely. Next up, we have one of my favourites on DVD, Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Running Man. Classic movie. Running Man was released in 1987, a great year for movies as well. RoboCop, Masters of the Universe, many more. It was a Stephen King novel, 1982 release. They are doing a remake of this soon, I believe, with Edgar Wright directing it. I'm looking forward to seeing what his incarnation of this movie will look like. But you can't beat the original Arnold movie. It's cheesy, it's action, it's science fiction action, cheesiness of just comedy cheese in there as well. Really, just over the top silliness at times in certain moments. But Arnie is great in this. One of my favourite films going up. One of the Arnie movies I'd always gravitate to. Love this film, and I'm glad I've got it in the collection. One I probably will look for an upgrade eventually, but for now I'm still happy to just have it on DVD. It's great. I love the cover. Just Arnie there looking like an absolute badass. Great movie. Running Man, and a Stephen King novel. Next up, we move to what we're going to now. We are going to Shawshank Redemption, which I believe is another Stephen King. Yeah, I didn't know this till today. It is based on a short novel by Stephen King. So another Stephen King novel, Shawshank Redemption. Shawshank was released in 1994, and it's based on, I don't know where the book, I think the book was released in 1982 as well. I'm pretty sure, I believe it's the same year that he wrote and released The Running Man. He was a busy guy, Stephen King, back in the 80s. Shawshank Redemption, though, one I remember watching the first time just being like, I heard people mention this movie years and years ago now, over like 10 years ago, and just thinking, wow, this is a special movie. Really enjoyed it. I could see why everyone enjoyed it. This prison escape movie, and such a deep story. Deep story. One of my favourite prison escape movies. It is fantastic. Shawshank Redemption, if you've never seen this one, and still to this day I hear people who say they've never watched it for the first time, and I'm like, wow, you've never seen it, but I'm also like, wow, you get to watch that for the first time and experience it that first time. It's great. I've got it on DVD here. Definitely one I'll be upgrading eventually, but yeah, it's a solid movie. Well worth watching if you've not watched it already, folks. Definitely one. You've got to add to your list for that one. Next up, I've got this one here. This is a recent upgrade for me, and it's one I really enjoy. John Carter. This was the 2012 release. It was released in 2012, based on a book in 1917 from a series of books, the John Carter series. Great film. I'm still gutted to this day that it's not been released on. It's not had a sequel, sorry. It's a great film, and they could have definitely done more with this. But I think their expectations for this movie was going to be the new Star Wars. It's a Star Wars for a new generation. I think Disney genuinely thought this was going to be the new Star Wars before they bought Star Wars. It didn't do that well at the box office. I remember my brother-in-law said to me, "You want to check out John Carter? It's great." And I remember seeing the trailers and not being that appealed to watching it. And I watched it on his recommendation, and I was just like, wow, this is right up my street. It's set in I think it's during the American Civil War, I think. Basically, then the main character, John Carter, gets transported to Mars, and then he's like taking on these different armies of Mars. Great story, science fiction at its finest. Got this on Blu-ray. I originally had the DVD, but I upgraded it to Blu-ray. It's not had a 4K release, but the Blu-ray looks absolutely stunning. Well worth it. If you're thinking about this movie, definitely dig into getting a Blu-ray release. It's a solid watch. I like this. I think if you do like Star Wars, if you like science fiction, it's going to be right up your street, John Carter, for sure. Now, the final movie I'm going to get to today is a DVD release, and it is one of my favourite movies I enjoy watching, and it is The Time Machine. This is the 2002 version of The Time Machine, starring Guy Pearce, Samantha Mumbet, and Jeremy Irons. This was based on a book, an 1895 book by H.G. Wells, so really, really old book. I know this has had lots of incarnations over the years. I know this is probably not the favourite version for a lot of people, but I remember watching this as a kid. I had it on VHS, then got it on DVD, and I really enjoy this movie. It's something about this movie I find it just really sucks me in. It's just like the aspect of time travel in this. I think it's just really something quite magical about this movie, and just kind of just like pulls you into watching it. I get it, there's this guy at the start of the movie where there's a tragic event that happens, and then he builds a time machine, and then he goes into the future, but he goes too far into the future, and then it's just in this world, this apocalyptic world, and dealing with that world then. And it is a magical movie to watch. It is such a surreal movie as well. This is a great one. I know it's got a Blu-ray release, but I don't think it had a UK Blu-ray release, this one. I would love to see this get a new release sometime in the future. Whether it does, I don't know whether it's it's popular enough to get a new Blu-ray or a 4K release, but I really do enjoy this movie. I think it's a solid film. I think more people enjoy. I think there was a 1960s version. I've never seen that version. I've never seen any other versions of The Time Machine. I would be interested to see the other versions because I like the story in this. So, I probably will get around to seeing some of the versions. I think it's like the 1960s one is a very popular version of it. So eventually I will get around to seeing that, but this one is great, superb film. And that is it. So let's do a bit of a roundup here. Like I said, all these films are great, but I think, standouts would be Planet of the Apes and Ready Player One for me. Ready Player One because it's a book I've read and I really enjoy it. And Planet of the Apes is one of my favourite franchises of all time. Definitely one of my favourites in there, folks. But there's tons of movies that are based on books out there. There's loads I've missed off. The Harry Potters, the Lord of the Rings. Definitely could do another video topic on this. But yeah, these are just some of my favourites in the collection that I really enjoy that are based on books. And like I said, some of them I didn't even realise they were actually based on books. So it was pretty cool to see that and be like, wow, that's actually based on a book. But yeah, they are some of my favourites that I have in the collection. If you enjoyed this episode today, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel as well. And let me know your thoughts on these 10 movies based on books. And are these some of the favourites in your collection? Maybe you've got some favourites of your own that you enjoy watching. Let me know all of your thoughts, folks. Thank you very much for watching this video today, ladies and gents. Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer, and as always, I will see you next time.